Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with some of the crew today.
Dave.
Dave, Nate.
In unison. Someone went the wrong way, and I think it was me.
So last night we had a chance to test out the Witch Hunter class as written by Matt Mercer of Geek and Sundry.
Yes.
And you ran the game. We had there's 3 different archetypes in the Witch Hunter.
But before we get to that, below in the description, you're going to find the link to Nerdarchy, the newsletter. If you guys haven't signed up for it, you should definitely do that. That's where we're going to keep you the most up to date with anything going on with Nerdarchy. If you would like to game with Nerdarchy, this is a good place to figure out how to do that. And also, we give you bonus content every week through the newsletter.
Power on.
So there was three different archetypes in Witch Hunter, and we got to test them all out. Dave, uncharacteristically for him, ran a high level game, so we were all 15th level. We got to sample it out. We got to see, what it was like to play a Witch Hunter. And Art, who played the Ghost Slayer, he's not here, so we kind of have his feedback from the game. So
as well as Ty Johnson, who gamed with us, and he kind of weighed in after the session as well. So again, there's actually a couple of things for us to go into with this video. One is how the Witch Hunter actually played out, and we got to see all 3 archetypes at a high level. Also, we got to we haven't really played any high level 5th edition or very much of it, so we got to do that. It was my first time running it. I've heard a lot of complaints about 5e at the higher levels, how it really bogs down. It's a slog fest with the combat, and
my experience with high level, it's not that at all.
And it's impossible to kill the characters. Like all these things are things that I've heard, but I haven't really been able to comment on because we haven't really played the higher levels so much.
Right.
And so so it was interesting for me having run a 9th level game was the highest level I had run previous to this game being 15th. And honestly, I didn't use a lot of really high level monsters, a lot of high CR monsters against you guys. We played for about 4 hours. We had essentially 3 combats. And the very first combat, I used like a hodgepodge monster of combining, a little bit of the stuff from the zombie ogre and the mummy.
Right.
And, I was able to do a significant amount of damage to the party.
Yes.
With relatively low level monsters. I never brought more than 3 of them to bear on one player at any given time.
There was enough.
Yeah, they were easy to hit, but they hit hard.
Oh yeah.
There were some other mitigating factors, but still, at best, these were CR3 monsters, and you guys were 15th level.
Right.
So I found that I didn't really have a problem with how the combats went. The next combat was a Horned Devil.
Right.
A single adversary.
Of course, everyone thought it was a pit fiend.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
They're calling it 15th. But it was a single, and honestly, I even nerfed some of its abilities.
Oh man.
I didn't use like its worst abilities. Like I messed up in the first round and didn't give it all of its attacks, and it's still the combat only lasted like 3 rounds, and it was able to dish out some serious damage and threaten some players before it went home. So and then the next thing I did was an encounter with a high level mage who actually ended up going down fairly quickly just because of a bad die roll.
Indeed.
Combined with a magic item that he was using that kind of had like a mishmash of properties of a lich and a demi lich, but I actually stripped away a lot of the extra abilities that those monsters have and really just stuck to the spell casting. Right. And again, several party members were dropped repeatedly, and then we had a surprise villain that appeared that almost TPK'd the party, which it was supposed to go that way, but they pulled it out. So all in all, like I had no complaints about running the high level game. I thought it went pretty smooth. I didn't feel like anything really bogged down. It's D&D, so of course there's a lot of combat.
Three to 4 rounds is what I've noticed. 5th edition. If you can lock it into that, you can do a significant amount of damage to the party. You can be a significant threat, and no one feels that oh my god, this is taking forever.
Yes,
and that's usually pretty quick.
So one more quick observation, then we'll actually get into the meat and the potatoes of the Witch Hunter.
Okay.
I find the slogfest aspect is usually the DM's fault. Like, I did have, like, that first combat, there was so many zombies. If you guys just tried to kill them all, it would have taken forever. And you probably would have just went down by the sheer numbers eventually.
Right.
So, instead, I had the mechanism for winning the fight wasn't actually beating the monster. It was something else. So the fight would last as long or as short as it took the players to figure out how to solve the problem. And they did figure it out rather quickly and started dissecting the problems. So I think more creative DMs who think about this aspect of the game of not having it just turn into an all-out slogfest and be a long night of rolling dice, you're not going to have this problem, and you're going to keep it more interesting for yourself and your players.
Ultimately, the game, while people enjoy the combat, at least our table it's not like combat's not the thing. You want to be part of the story. You want to have something go on. So we've had times in ages past where you show up, you get into a combat, the combat lasts 2 hours, and that's the majority of the night. It's like, that's not fun anymore. If that's what you're into, yay, great.
Or it's not fun all the time. Sometimes it's okay, depending on how it goes. It can be interesting.
And one of the things I would say with playing the Witch Hunter, like, it's a whole bunch of new abilities, and we were 15th level, so I know I was kind of tripping up over my own powers, like, oh wait, I should have done this, or I could have done this, or I did this last round and it's supposed to do this now. So, and it's just like this.
So what you're saying is, even though you use the class inefficiently, everything still kind of flowed okay.
Oh yeah. I would say the most cumbersome thing about the combat was trying to figure out what I could do because I had never played the character before.
Right. That is something that, regardless of what you are playing, when you are completely new to the environment or the class, you're gonna question, okay, well, what can I do? What are my options? There were several times that I went back to the PDF and I'm like, okay, how did this power work? Or do I have any other options at my feet right now?
We were definitely looking for options in those combats.
Our characters were a practice in dichotomy. You were all about ranged, and my character is 90% about melee. So if you can't get me into melee, I'm screwed. And that was something that I had an issue with at a couple point in times. I played Order of the Mutant, and if you look through the PDF, this is part of planning that type of character is your mutagens that you get. You get a bizarre list of concoctions that you can choose from, and everything comes with some kind of advantage and some kind of disadvantage. And when you get really high level, you can ignore one disadvantage. So you have to figure out how many advantages versus how many disadvantages you're willing to take on. And at the level that we were playing, I knew 7 formula. So I could literally have 7 different things that are going on, but that's also,
7 disadvantages.
7 disadvantages that I can ignore one of them.
So at any given, at the peak of the night, what's the most you had on?
I never put on 2 of them. So
Okay.
I had 5 of them going, and I ignored one of their disadvantages. So I had four things that affected me at a time, and it didn't really hurt me too much. The biggest thing that really bogged me down was the reconstruction, which gave me a 10 feet off of my movement.
Yeah, I found that one was really the biggest hindrance, and really, in the final combat, when the surprise villain showed up, he could have he was kind of nice in the use of his movement.
Right.
If he would have used his movement better, you could have never even get to him. It'd almost be like an ogre putting his hand on a small child's forehead and be like, you can't hit me, you can't hit me.
So it could have gone comically like that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, to your guy. I run towards Ty. All right, I move and laugh.
I move and laugh and wait for the other characters to fail their death saves.
Yes, exactly. I run around the room crazy.
So I did change one thing. The Profane Soul has an ability that is, as written, makes it very awesome. Gives you a bunch of extra castings, and that is basically when you attack with your weapon. Before so, you declare you're using a spell, and then basically when you strike something, single target spell basically is channeled through your weapon as an action.
Right.
Rules as intended after Nerdarchy Ryan contacted Matt Mercer was that it actually uses a spell slot. I actually changed it. What I said, you know what, that actually makes the ability really weak and kind of, not even worth it in my opinion, because you get so few castings as
a Profane Soul.
So what I said is like, well, why not use the same mechanic as the Paladin? When you hit with an attack, you can choose to blow a spell through your weapon.
Right.
And in that effect, I actually didn't care if you used more than one or not. What are you going to do? Use both your spells in the same round? So what? Then that ability is done until you take another short rest.
Right.
But I felt it made it better and more useful.
Mm.
It was really useful for getting a ranged vampiric touch off. So I have to say that just being able to do that is pretty good.
Right.
So, which I
don't know if you could technically do that. I'll have to look back in it. But at the time, I thought it was okay.
I think so. It's basically you make on a weapon. I think it says weapon attack. I don't.
Yeah, it never says melee in the whole thing, which is really great. Another great thing about it is when it said, you can coat. You don't have to coat ammunition with the blood right thing. It's a weapon.
Right.
And the
weapon, well, that would suck if every piece of ammunition was
like
15
hit points.
So speaking of blood right,
are you gonna talk about what not to do?
Art's character, he came in and he used a whip, some other kind of melee weapon, and he used a pistol, and
a flintlock pistol. Yes, and he had black powder.
And he absolutely blood righted all three weapons. So at 15th level, that's 15 hit points sacked off of your
45
max.
hit points.
45 hit points. My character travels with two weapons. And I'm like, well, I'm using the Great Axe as my primary weapon. If for some reason I feel the need, I can, blood right my Warhammer if I need to use a bludgeoning weapon and do that extra damage. But my character also regenerated, so like I didn't have that issue, and if I didn't have this style of character, there is no way we would have been able to make it through the night because there wasn't healing to go around. It literally took my character fast healing to get through every single combat. Well, the Horned Devil wasn't really a problem for me. I mean, he did 20 points of damage, to me throughout the entire fight. And, as I killed him...
Art? Did he drop?
Art
dropped every combat.
I think he was fine the first one, but the other two he dropped.
I think he dropped the first one.
No, he dropped the first one. We had to heal a kid.
Well, yeah. When you start off at negative 45 hit points...
That's
a 15th level game, yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. So, if you're going to play a Witch Hunter...
Blood right as need be.
One thing at a time, and if you feel the need, you need a second, go for it, but never go to a third. It's, God,
Yeah, just use the weapon as it is, and it's only D10 damage. I mean, how many times you're going to use it to make up for the 15 hit points you lost for the entire day?
Right.
Well, I think as 15, it's not bad, but when you start multiplying that 15 by 2 and 3, it makes a huge difference.
So, Art's feedback on the Witch Hunter, he got to play the Ghost Slayer, and he feels, since we didn't really come up against a significant amount of foes that were seriously susceptible to radiant damage, that he felt that the Ghost Slayer was far more a support class than the Profane Soul or the Order of the Mutant.
Yeah, like the spotter and
But also having reduced his hit points so heavily, he continually put himself out of the combat because of it. So we didn't really get to see, how much he could have actually done.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like, plus he rolled horrible all night, so he had a lot of bad rolls. But that bonus radiant damage, it's just more damage above and beyond what you're supposed to do. So like if he would have been hitting more often with his 3 attacks, that's an extra 12 points around.
Did it do 2 fumbles? He had 2 fumbles on the weapon. He got hit with it once, so.
Yeah, he crit, his first crit fumble with his flintlock. I had it explode in his hand.
It backfired onto him.
And he did it, and he took the damage. But yeah, so like. And again, there wasn't a lot of invincible things or other things for him to see where that ability would be kind of cool.
I think over an entire series campaign with Witch Hunters, you're going to come up against so many things like that.
Yeah, they're very specialized.
Yeah.
I actually think that each order, really does a good job of making that thing stand out, just as like the 3 archetypes of the fighter are played so differently. The Witch Hunter falls into that same spectrum, in my opinion, because anyone sitting there watching the game could look at the 2 of our characters and not see that they're the same. Like you wouldn't say, oh, they're playing the same class. I'm in melee, I've got all these crazy abilities, but I'm not casting spells, but he is. He's casting spells more than doing, anything else.
It's like the difference between the Battle Master and Eldritch Knight. I mean, like that level of difference. And, they have their individual parts in the combat.
And even Art's character, too, was very different than the other ones, the way he kept bouncing off the ground and stuff. But no, I mean, had the resource management been better with that character, I think you would have seen it as well. And again, he was a ranged character. He asked if he could use black powder. I'm like, sure, why not?
We were in the city for it anyway.
We were in the city for it.
Overall, I'm greatly impressed with the class as a whole. I'd love to sit down and mechanic it out a little bit more, play some more, and see how things feel maybe at lower levels. Because as we said in our other video, when we originally reviewed it, that the class is very backloaded in abilities. I wonder how it would compare with other classes at a low level. Like, do you really feel that hurt of, wow, I don't have all that many abilities, or will it actually stand up? And you as you gain levels, that's where you'll get to shine. I don't know.
I don't know about the other 2 archetypes, but for Profane Soul, I feel like you had to take a lot of short rests, I think, to get the most mileage.
It's the Warlock thing.
Yeah, and I'm not used to playing a Warlock.
Monks are the same way as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So there are just certain classes that are dependent on short rests.
Yeah, short rests are just better.
And which is actually kind of bad for the style of play we have, because we tend to do harder combats but less of them. And try and mix in more non-combat type encounters.
Yeah, so if you have one fight a day, then the people that are needing short rests to get like a good use out of the day of a fight.
Yeah, maybe
But short rest, long rest, it doesn't make a difference.
Well, what I mean is, if I used 2 spells. I used 2 spells in the first combat. If we didn't take a short rest, I would be done.
Right.
For the rest of the game.
Right.
So you got your 4 spells in instead.
And I had 4 uses of the 10th level ability.
Battle channel.
Yeah, where you can channel it.
So if you didn't have a short rest, you wouldn't have got to use it again. You wouldn't have had any spells to pump into it.
Yeah, so that's why. I didn't use it at all. I wouldn't have used it at all if I hadn't done the short rest.
Now, I just want to say, we had 4 characters, 3 Witch Hunters, a cleric, and I used CRs ranging from 3s to 15.
Oh, okay.
And throughout the different combats.
Okay.
And at no point did I feel like I was completely walking through this party. So. And
we didn't walk through you. I mean, everything was a challenging fight. Even like our first combat like the combat wasn't the goal. Like there was something else.
Yeah,
to
but
do,
it was still challenging.
But it was absolutely challenging, and you know it was definitely oh crap, I'm taking a lot more damage here than I'm happy with, you know, scenario. Whereas you know as we move on, you know, and it's like okay, well we're dealing with lots of things. We're dealing with one thing. It definitely was.
Yeah, so it got a fair mix for us to see these guys in action.
Right.
So that being said, I want to say, Mr. Matt Mercer, my hat's off to you. Good job. You know, this class holds up. It wasn't too weak. It wasn't too strong. You know, if anything, the party suffered from not having, you know, controllers or wizards to really lay out the area of effect and the spells. But that had nothing to do with this class per se.
We wanted to see this particular class
in action.
So we focused on that, and that goes to show like you know how important party dynamics and party composition is.
Maybe not. You know, it's just a different kind of game. I think this party from first level would be a blast. I wouldn't run those kind of games for this party. They're witch hunters. They would focus on the hunt. You know, so like this would be a highly focused campaign, and they might do other stuff every once in a while. And that stuff, yeah, it would come up. But for the most part, you know, they're designed to do a certain thing, so it doesn't make sense me as the DM to create adventures around these characters that are, you know, typical dungeon crawls when the focus of each player is the hunt, you know, monsters.
We would be
specific
looking,
types.
the players would be looking for those types of things and ignoring.
You'd be like orcs. That's for adventurers.
Yeah.
We're not adventurers. We're witch hunters.
Knights can do that stuff.
So
Yeah.
after that playthrough, I would definitely you know take this character and I would sack out a stat bump to get mobility.
Lesson learned.
You know,
Oh yeah, 20con's not looking that sweet anymore, is it?
20con is awesome. It gives me.
No, wait, that 20 con saved his life.
Oh, this is true.
It did, but having the ability to maneuver, you know, could have made a difference as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
So-
So with that, you have a final
Yeah,
thought?
I've been kind of harsh on the diabolic thing, and I just want to say that even if you get 4 of them, you know, just I think with the short rest is totally cool. During the actual video, it's just like, this doesn't make any sense. But you know, then I wasn't thinking in that short rest mentality. So,
Well, it's an important part of the resource management in 5th edition.
And if I had been playing since even 3rd level, I would have
It would have
recognized
clicked.
that by the
Yeah,
time
you're
I
like,
got
oh,
the 10th
right.
level power.
Rest.
I'm like, yes, finally the 10th level power.
And this character thrives on putting his feet up and having a sandwich.
Yes. So again, thumbs up.
All
Good
right,
job.
so with that, guys, if you've had a chance to play The Witch Hunter or you watched the game, check it out. Let us know what you think in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Or you can head over to nerdarchy.com and check out some cool articles.
And while you're there, you can check out Nerdarchy the store.
So until next time, stay nerdy.